Welcome back to Tony and Tina's Wedding, Creating a Theater Tribe. I'm Larry.
I'm Gret.
And I'm Conchetta.
In today's episode, we get to focus on a part of the show that makes it so special, the music.
The music in this show is the element that drives it forward.
And keeps the actors on cue, no matter where they are in the space.
As our original Donny Dolce, Michael Winther created a truly unique showman that generations have taken their lead from.
And Kia Colton, our original Celeste Romano and music director, was so integral to the show that she literally wrote Tony and Tina's wedding song.
So for anyone who's slow danced to Heaven Made Love, you have this fabulous woman to thank.
So get those dancing shoes out.
And get your hair as big as possible.
As we dive into everything about Donny Dolce and Fusion. I am so unbelievably happy today to welcome Michael Winther and Kia Colton, who were in the original company of Tony and Tina's Wedding, way back at Carmelita's many, many years ago. And Kia played Celeste Romano, piano player, songwriter extraordinaire. And Michael played Donny Dolce and has the most glorious voice. And together they became the band Fusion. So how are you two? What's going on? Tell us about being way back then. You can
I just have to make a correction though. It's Donny Dolce and Fusion.
Oh,
Just so
yes.
It is.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And I'm sure
you know.
Yes. Yes, Michael.
Let's get that straight right at the top.
Well, Donny would want that. Donny would want
Donny
that.
would.
Absolutely.
I don't care. I don't care about that. It's just the character.
Yeah.
So Kia and Michael, you both began at Carmelita's, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, right.
Yeah, it was
Right.
sort of the Wild West still down there a little
What
bit.
do you remember about that space? How big was the stage?
It was a tiny little corner.
Tiny
You
little
two were
corner.
always stuck in tiny little corners.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Were.
Gus's place that was spacious. But no, I mean, it was a great spot. I don't believe we were raised. I think we were just on the floor level at Carmelita's. Was it a little raised stage? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
I think
If it was raised, it was like
Maybe. Yeah,
tiny.
it was like
right.
this much.
Whatever. Well, that was probably just a bump in the floor. Okay.
Probably warped. The floor was warped right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that space was so small.
Yeah,
But it was so perfect in a
So
way.
perfect. It needed not one thing to be done to it, which was
Yeah.
just so incredible.
I remember the way I heard about Tony and Tina's wedding was through a friend of mine who practiced the Buddhism that I practice, Towner. And Towner was like, there's this really weird thing that I'm doing. And I was like, what? And he just explained it. And I thought it was so outside of the box that I love stuff that's outside of the box. So I went to go check it out, and they said they don't know where it's going to go, but, so I came in and I met you and I met Michael, and it was like, wow, this is wild. This is just wild.
You came to see the show.
I came to, no, I didn't see the show.
Before, because
it was a rehearsal or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I came to a rehearsal, right?
Yeah, it was really early. We were trying to find somebody. I had been involved with the group called Artificial Intelligence, which is just so strange to say that now, but we were ahead of our times with that name.
That's right.
But yeah, so I'd done a couple of other shows where I was a singing member, a character that was a singer.
What was that group's name?
Oh, that was Tracy and the Truth. Well, first it was Tracy and Trip in the Christmas show. That's the first thing I ever did. And I got to know Nancy through a director friend of mine, David Kaplan, who had an acting class.
Yeah.
Before the class would start, I was there early to do administrative work for the director with the students and make sure everybody paid and all that. Because I was trying to save money, and then that way he gave me the class for free. But they would chant in the back of his big loft every day, and I was like, what the hell is going on back there? What are these people doing? And then one day I was like, well, let me see what this is. And that was how it all started. And then Nancy invited me to come and work on the Christmas special, which I loved because my dad was in television in the early days of variety shows. And I grew up watching all of those things. And so to me, the idea of putting together a show about the taping of a live show was totally seductive. And I was really excited to be part of it. Yeah. So we created this sort of Jan and Dean to younger viewers. That's like a Beach Boysy kind of music. And we put together this fake couple, these two guys, me and this friend of mine, Lyman. We were sort of Jan and Dean, but it was Tracy and Trip. And I was Tracy, who was Gina Anthony's boyfriend. But he was
Right.
he was maybe gay.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yes.
Yeah, and it was amazing because it was just a bunch of kids trying to like, let's do a show, and took off. And then we moved to the ballroom, which is unfortunately no longer there, and shared space with Blossom Deary. And when I say shared space, I don't mean Cynthia Erivo shared space. I mean, we literally shared space with them in the one or two dressing rooms. So, you know, Blossom Deer would be there lighting up after her
Smoking.
show. Yeah, it was an amazing thing. I
Yeah.
mean, we were around all these people, and then we would all come in, and all like 20 of us, and shove ourselves into this space and do the show. But it was so much fun. I think when you look back, you kind of look at things through rose-colored glasses. But actually, at the time, I was like, this is so much fun. And the feeling of becoming, and we were like making stuff happen on our own, which was so empowering. And then we were extended, and everybody, Larry and Nancy, came up with the idea of making it into a Valentine show. And then we
Yeah.
changed all the music, and we added more guys. And that was where the Truth came in, Tracy and the Truth. And that was just a bunch of college friends of mine who I sang a cappella with. And we got them together, and Tony Dowdy.
Yeah. It was really Scott Gleason who was such a supporter. He was the booking agent. He and Greg Dawson, they did it together, but he was the booking person for the ballroom. And he was really such an extraordinary supporter of this. He was a big supporter, and he really saw something. And he's the one that brought us to the ballroom. And he's
Yeah.
really, in some ways, he got everybody to go and see Tony and Tina's wedding because Greg Dawson was an investor. Like all of these people that I didn't even know about 2 years later had
Yeah.
come to really, I mean, I don't know. We didn't even know how the hell anything was happening. We were just doing the show, really.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, we were so fortunate to have so many great angels. And Stephen
Yes.
Holden, the New York Times reviewer,
Yep.
he
Absolutely.
got behind the show, and we're still friends. He lives 4 blocks from me. I try to have breakfast with him once a month. Yeah, he's just been always such a great supporter of a certain kind of live theater. And it was at a time where that kind of thing really mattered. A review in the Times really mattered. And I think he really was instrumental in helping us get started and getting attention to the piece. So,
Yes, yes, especially with Tony Tina's wedding, because he made a promise that if we would do it and if he could come and see it, then he said, and if I like it, I will give you this. And that really was the
yeah.
thing that lit the fire.
Yeah,
So,
but so
and
that's
that's,
the long answer to how I came to Tony and Tina's wedding. So I was already kind of part of the company, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
And it was really exciting to be doing a new piece and come up with some ideas about what would this person be like and all that stuff. And it was so much fun for me because I look like this, and I was playing an Italian dude with like Gino Vanelli wig, and like what I thought what acting was, you know, not just being a slightly cooler version of yourself, you know. And
Yeah, well, you were great, Michael. And plus, you just had the most wonderful voice. So,
well, it was so much fun. I mean,
yeah.
I loved doing all
And
those
not typically
songs.
what you sing, I don't think, you know.
No, no, definitely not. Now more. Now I'm back into like standard land and
Yeah.
doing stuff like that. But anyway, but
Did
so when
did
Kia came on board, it was amazing. We had
you,
great chemistry.
how
Yeah.
set was the song list when you all came in? Because I know we did a lot of working on that song list.
Yeah, well, in the beginning, it was just stuff that we fancied, we thought would be funny to do, like the Madonna medley, like Donny
Right.
doing
Yes.
Madonna and singing inappropriate songs like Papa Don't Preach, You're Having
Yeah.
My Baby. And he would just
Yes.
kind of do it, cluelessly. And yeah, it was pretty fluid because the project hadn't been merged into a published piece yet. And there was no talk of licensing, I don't think, at that point, because we were
Well,
so
there,
early.
that's why Kia began to write some of the music, if you remember, because we couldn't get the license for the songs. Because once
Yeah,
we began the run, we had been advised to go ahead and get the license. And remember, we couldn't even get the license for bad, we
right, right.
right. Jackson's people wouldn't give it to us. But then Kia Art, I know that we came to you and we're like, can you like do a Debbie Gibson song here? Remember that song?
Yeah.
I mean, you must have had 5 or 6 songs in the show at one time.
Yeah, at one time I did. Even when I went to LA, we did a whole thing at the Coconut Teaser where we, Donny Dolce and Fusion were getting signed to their, and they had an album West of Nowhere. So I had to write like all these songs and it was hilarious. And I thought, what's the cheesiest? We Heaven Made Love. They're in Heaven Made Love. And it just worked. And I was so nervous. I wrote it the night, like literally stayed up all night writing the song. And then I presented it to you guys, and I was so nervous. Like, oh, I hope they like this, but I love it.
Oh, it was a beautiful song.
That was great.
Yeah,
And that was actually in New York, Heaven Made Love, because I was part of that. I wasn't in the
yeah,
LA production, so
yeah. They
Yeah.
played it
And
in
Kia, who was it that you wrote Heaven Made Love with?
Murray Weinstein.
Oh, loved
he
Murray.
was
Murray
amazing. Wow.
was amazing. And I wrote the initial idea one night and I brought it to Murray and Michael, didn't we record it? We recorded it in his
Yeah,
studio.
we did a like hilarious recording of it. I mean, it's actually not hilarious. It's a very legitimate recording of it. And we did like this short of us
Yeah.
doing our big recording session of our hit song and
At Murray's.
at Murray's. And I don't know where that video is. That would be so much fun because it was like we were in the van, like the
So
band were in the
fun.
van
Oh my
going
God.
to the recording
Yeah,
session and
So
we're
good.
all done up in our costumes
Uh,
and stuff.
it
And
was
the best
so
time.
it
funny.
was like behind the scenes, MTV behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
Murray
Anyway,
also re-recorded Heaven Made Love and released it in Japan. We had a hit in Japan.
Yeah, I
I,
remember
I
you
love
saying
Yeah.
that.
it's
Was it in Japanese or in English?
No, it was in English.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
yeah, and I know you did a Debbie Gibson song. I forget what the name of that one was, but that was adorable
Oh,
because
that's right.
we
I
were
can't remember the name of the song.
and then as we got some of the songs back and got the rights for them, we would move things around.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
we
Okay.
did a lot of instrumental. Well,
Right.
Right.
While you were back fixing your hair. Da, da,
dinner.
da,
I
da,
was fixing my
da,
chest
Yeah,
da,
merkin.
da, 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 da,
yeah.
da,
Da, dun, dun.
da,
Yeah,
Oh,
da.
right, 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 right.
we
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitely did that, Larry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, somehow I have a copy of this music from
Yeah.
probably I forget when we finally had music.
I
Sit
was
at the
gone by that time, I think, because
w-
I left the show like right before everybody went to LA in I think it was 89 maybe, because I'd been a reader for auditions. That was one of my day jobs. I got cast in a Broadway play out of nowhere, this
My
Tom Stoppard play called Artist Ascending a Staircase. And so I was like, do I go to LA and do that, or do I do this thing? And of course I did the Broadway thing, and it closed in a month. And then I remember
Oh,
coming out to LA to visit because I grew up out there and my family's out there, and to see the show. And it was so much fun to see. And Tony Dowdy is a dear friend, and he ended up doing Donnie out there his way, like very much like a Van Halen kind of
yeah.
Larry.
thing, which was really suited for him and for LA. And it was great.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that was so great about the piece and about fun of working on it, is you could really kind of tailor it to what the strengths of each. I mean, certainly in the beginning, again, I can't speak to after, but to
Yeah,
what you
it
did
always was
well. And
tailored. But there was always a standard after New York and probably, well, I don't know, because New York, LA, Philadelphia, some of these things were happening all at once. So I took whatever we were doing in New York and took that to Philadelphia. And I know that in LA we did like the Prince. I mean, Tony
We
did some,
did do Prince.
yeah, we did some different things
Yeah,
we
you had a
hadn't
very different set list in LA, I think,
done in
which
New
makes
York,
sense.
except for the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bones. The Bones were always the same.
Yeah.
Desperado,
Right. Right.
you
Right.
know, Heaven Made Love,
Yeah.
The Bridal March. I mean, there were a lot of songs that always remained the same because they were the structure.
But
Here's
Yeah, like
I always believe that the foundation of something is, and I think the foundation of the music came out of such joy because I would just sit at the piano with Michael and then you'd come by and we'd be like, oh, that works. Or we'd kind of audition songs
Yeah,
and just, okay, that works, but that doesn't work. And it was so much fun.
yeah.
oh,
It
it
was
was so much
just,
fun. Yeah, and I would do things that I'd always wanted to sing, like Richard Marx songs sometimes,
yes,
and
yes.
and then we did it was from a cartoon, The American Story. Somewhere
Oh,
out
yes, somewhere out
Oh,
there.
yeah,
there,
somewhere
Oh my
out there
gosh,
was a good
Tina
yes.
one.
someone
sang that.
say a
Tina and you, yeah.
prayer.
There's
And then do
that
you remember
voice,
and
Michael.
Dancing in the Dark?
Dancing in the Dark.
That was our conga song. I tell people that today and they're like, what? But that was the song that we danced the conga to because that play, the music that was chosen at that time was very sexy in a way.
Hmm.
It became a little bit more pop kind of feel. Not that those songs aren't pop, but it took on this pop feeling later on. But at that time, the music was so great at that time. I mean,
Yeah.
from Desperado to Dancing in the Dark to
How
Bad
much to your
Betty.
It
body, baby? Do
also,
that conga.
was like wedding gig material.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
the band, the characters that we came up with we were talking about it yesterday, Michael and I. The beautiful thing is that they just had complete confidence in themselves. They were going to make it. And they're just going to explode at one point. And I've been in that wedding scene a lot where you play gigs for a wedding and there's a certain set that everybody, you want familiar songs. You want the
Right.
songs of the times that people are like, oh, I love this song, and they get up and dance. But it had to fit the humor of the piece.
Yes.
And our band was very humorous. I frizzed my hair out to here every night. Juan was amazing. Juan was
Oh yeah.
so great. And with costume and makeup. And we were always
Hairspray.
chewing gum while we're,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
like
but like,
Celeste was like, whatever.
but the
And
great thing
Donny
was
and
that it,
Celeste would get in fights.
Yes, you
yeah,
I love
did.
that.
but I thought it was always important to make sure that the music was viable, that we were doing it well. I mean, we were
Yeah.
playing it in a certain, making fun of it, but the characters weren't. We were serious.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I was just at a wedding recently in October, and the wedding band was awesome. They were all amazing singers and they were tacky as hell, but the singing and the just orchestrations, everything. I mean, they were really high-end wedding band. And I just thought, oh yeah, these people are good. I mean, they have talent. They just probably don't have much taste. So I
Right,
mean, I
which
think it
was
was important
Donnie.
that the if you have a Donnie and a Celeste who are not great singers, it's not going to really be a very enjoyable evening because that's
Right.
always going to be kind of bothering you in the
Oh no,
background. And
it's
Right.
that's a
terrible.
one
I've had
joke
it.
thing. You can't sustain that
Yeah.
because at some point, one of our jobs as actors playing those roles is to keep the evening moving and to entertain in the background like a wedding band does. That's just what it does. And then there were the moments in the timeline where it became more about us and or there was an event that we were accompanying or whatever. But yeah, it was crucial that it be played straight too. I mean, that's one thing I was so impressed with the rest of the company too. Everybody's improving was so there wasn't a lot of winking at it. It was these people were real. They were sometimes very misguided, but nobody was sort of overplaying it. It was really fun to learn. I mean, I was so young, so I was just kind of learning what is this? How does this work? And I learned so much from that job, from that experience. in all three things that I did with artificial intelligence. It was really an incredible time. Very rich.
And
Yeah.
really, you all provided a soundtrack that still is used today.
Right.
It's
In
amazing.
terms of maybe not the exact songs, but Grandma Falls or Sister Chokes or whatever we did
Right.
happens on this beat of this song so that the cues match up. And we only sing this much of Here Comes the Bride until Tony and Tina come in. And it provided such a map. And of course, it was the only way that actors, no matter where they were, in the bathroom, downstairs, cater, whatever they were doing, that's how they could hear their cues.
Yeah, it certainly appealed to my personality as I've learned that that's who I am, is the sort of director actor aspect that I have always. So it was really satisfying to be able to keep an eye on everything. I mean, everything was internal cues, but still it was like, oh, this is going on. Okay, let's push this a little bit. And I think the whole cast was that way. Everybody was able to adjust depending on the evening because it was a different audience every night. But there was definitely, yeah,
A rhythm.
timeline. And
I always wanted the music. I was like, can we make the music faster? Can we speed it
yeah.
up?
I remember that.
Yeah, because I don't know, you could feel, because the music drove the show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when it laid back the least little bit, you could look around the audience and you could feel that they needed a jump.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Kia,
Yeah.
I remember Kia would be like, that's way faster than the cover. And I'm like, I don't care.
You're like, I
Yeah.
don't care.
Keep the energy going.
Yeah, we
It's
were
true.
like, "Oh."
It's an internal cue they don't even know they're getting, really,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and to hear you guys talk about how that fine line, or maybe it's a huge chasm between having fun with something and going all the way to parodying it. Tony and Tina's always was on the side of have fun with it, but it has to be real or else it doesn't land. It won't land.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not sustainable for them to be bad at what they
Right.
do or whatever. To hear that really was part of the design of the music as well, it just makes so much sense because the whole show is so driven by that. And the
Yeah, I
audience
mean,
goes
they're
along with the ride. They don't even know they're going along for the ride.
No, it was precise. It was precise.
Absolutely. And it
Yeah.
still is. And some of those bones that you're talking about, absolutely, the songs are the same. A lot of those structurally, they are the
Shout,
same.
shout, I've tried so often to change shout.
Yes.
no,
And there's
can't.
just
It's
no changing it.
Yeah.
you could put Rock Lobster in that spot, I guess, but that would be harder to get rights to probably.
It
It's the same
depends
kind of
on what moves the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
What
And
moves
it's
the
also,
audience is important.
and now that it's had such a long life, how do you keep it from sounding dated like the set list without having to do a lot of major changes? Because
Right.
then otherwise it sort of becomes like a wedding from the past instead of
Right.
what
Yeah.
it is
Exactly.
now.
Right.
Donna's songs always change.
Yeah, yeah.
The songs right after dinner always change. So coming out of dinner up until the dance with Tina and Michael, which I forget the song that we used originally, but
I should have dug out I have a folder of
What
all
did
this.
Did we
use,
do
Gret?
My Funny Valentine?
We did
And
at some
then,
point, yeah.
right, and then My Funny Valentine, yes, but just a piece of it.
Just a piece. It got, yeah.
Yeah. And then was New York, New York always the closer?
I think so.
No,
Yeah.
no, I don't think it was in was it in the very beginning, the closer? I don't
I
know.
think it was pretty early on because it's such a, what it is.
I know Desperado was always there.
Always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would imagine, again, I don't remember really, but I think it was that because that was just the way to get everybody to know was we were done.
Right. Bye.
Oh,
And it's such an annoying song that it drove people out, hopefully. No.
well, then, but we did have to then eventually have Loretta say, "Okay, everybody, thanks for coming.
Everybody. Oh
Yeah,
my
right.
gosh.
Bye. You can leave now," because
Sweet.
because people didn't want to leave.
No.
People were waiting for a curtain call, actually, which of course
Right.
never came.
Never didn't happen.
Right.
I know.
Because that doesn't happen in a wedding.
No, exactly.
And who fucking had the energy for a curtain call? So.
Right. I know, dude, like 4 hours later.
Oh no,
We
all
also
worked so hard.
Well, we were lucky, the band was lucky because everybody would come in and we would hang back because the dressing room space was a little cramped. And then everybody would go to the wedding and we would do a sound check and hang out. We had like an hour
Yeah.
to just chill, work on some music. And the great thing about being in the band too is if you weren't like, if it wasn't a day where you were like fully into spending a lot of energy, because Donnie would have breaks and I would go out and do my shtick with the audience and things. But sometimes you're like, Donnie's not feeling that today. Donnie
Right.
needs to go back to the dressing room like a real band member would.
And Kia never got to
Exactly.
do that.
Yeah, I
Oh.
was
No.
always playing. The amazing thing about the whole thing for me was that I wasn't an actor. I used to practice 6 hours a day, and I was going to be a concert pianist. And then I was a singer-songwriter too. So coming into this, it was so easy for me, the songs, but it was mixing the humor with it. And I was telling Michael some of my favorite moments where was Donnie would go out into the dance floor and he'd do a spin and then he'd fall. And then he'd like hold his back like, all the way back to
Oh my God.
And it was
That whole
so
shtick.
funny.
I remember
It was like great.
Oh my God.
So
It was
good.
so freeing to be that character because it was so not who I
It
was.
was freeing. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
after the show, I'd come out as me, and I wore like William Hurt glasses at the time, and I pretty much had this hairline, maybe a little more. And people would be like, "Do you know if that band leader has he left yet?" And I was like, "I know he's still in there. I think it takes him a while." And it was really fun. But I remember there was a little bit of, people would come see the show, and then they'd want to have a meeting, like a casting director or something, and I would come in as this guy who looks like an accountant, and they were just kind of like, "Oh, so, oh, okay, all right." And I was like, "I'm an actor, like I play parts." But anyway,
You should have
it
worn
was
the wig.
Yeah, I was gonna
well,
say,
that's what
Yeah.
I should have worn the wig and black my eyebrows and
right? Just borrow the
done the
wig.
whole thing.
Yeah.
What did you guys wear? Tell me about your
Kia,
gorgeous
you want to go first?
band
Sure.
costumes.
I had like a sequenced
Of
tight,
course.
It's like blue, like this color
yeah,
almost.
blue sequenced.
Aquamarine.
Aquamarine. You have a good memory.
Short.
And they frizzed my hair out to here. And I had heavy makeup on with red lips, and I was always chewing gum and talking to Donnie. And I went out into the audience a lot and just improved as Celeste.
Well, and you were hot too.
Celeste
Like you
Romano.
you still are, but you were,
Thanks.
you had like, I think it was strapless, right? It was like
Yeah, it was strapless.
Yeah.
It was very high heels, and
Yeah,
like Donnie
it was
and I were
cool.
going places.
Sounds like.
We were going places.
And every once in a while you have to give it a hike up.
Oh yeah,
remember?
I'd always hike my yeah
Yes, that was a
Like not in the most like ladylike way. It was more like,
yeah.
all right.
Say, why hide it?
And I
Right?
gotta give my props to Juan Diarmas because Juan was brilliant with the costumes.
Yep,
He
he
was the
was.
one who would pick out the costume and we'd try things on. He's like, "That's fabulous." Yeah, and
Donnie started like at Carmelita's, it was like a black brocade jacket that I found somewhere, I think, and then I had a green silky shirt and this black Gino Vanelli wig. That was really cheap. I mean, it was a really cheap wig. And I think for like a week or two, I played with putting hair on my chest, but then I was like, I'm not
I
doing that every
remember
night.
that.
That's too short. At some point, that just fell away. I was like, no.
Yeah, that's a commitment.
It was a commitment.
Yeah.
I had hair, and then I would sort of mascara it, and then I was like, screw this. And then I had bolo tie, like a little bolo thing. And then when it moved to Gus's, the more commercial production, Juan had designed this stuff, and I had these really cool pants. When I wore these cowboy boots that I found, black cowboy boots that were a thrift shop find that I wore for the whole time, I think.
Wow.
And I wore those and they were really uncomfortable. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was young and, I think now when I have show shoes, there's like 6 layers of foam and there's, it's like,
Didn't you have
because
a bolero jacket? Was that
I
you?
did. It was a bolero jacket with this incredibly multicolored sequencey material. And it was very flattering for me because I'm pretty short-waisted. So Juan knew how to make Donnie
Yeah.
look pretty good.
Yeah.
And the pants were way tight, but they were stretchy, so I could do what I needed to do. And I got my ear pierced, I think on this side, whatever
Oh,
the non-gay side was at the time, which
right.
is ironic because, but Donnie would never have the gay earring.
Yeah, I
And
guess
it was
not.
like a dangling like cross thing that came down.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It
Donnie was
was,
cool. He was cool.
I tried.
I wanted to ask you about relationships with people in the show. Like, have you stayed in contact with people? Who do you see? Michael, you just said fuck all of you and just left.
No, not at all. But there is something to be said for, because I stayed on the East Coast and I didn't spend a lot of time after the Broadway show. Then Stuart Ross, he invited me into the production of something called Forever Plaid, which,
Oh yeah.
like Tony Tina's Wedding, has had this long life. And it was,
Oh, yeah.
again, a small show that started kind of from nothing. And I did that for, God, like forever. That's the joke. But Forever Plaid, we did it regionally and all this stuff. So I was really busy. And then I
Yeah.
started doing more Broadway stuff and all that, which was amazing. But then when I'd go out to LA to visit my siblings who all live out there, I would see Nancy and Liz Dennehy, I often will run into.
Yeah.
And then there have been a couple times where I've come out to LA and Chase and Liz will get a group of people together and we'll all kind of hang, but it's been a while.
Okay.
And then Nancy came to New York and Sue Varon, Jay Harron, we all had lunch, and Kevin Leonidas.
Yeah.
And Jay and Sue, I would see all the time because they had jobs at this day job that I was in and out of for years. And I think I got them the gig working for Tim's Zagat or Zagat restaurant guide.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I would see them at work, which was hilarious because we did, Tim Zagat will never listen to this, but we did so little. We just kind of punched the clock. And I mean, we did do a lot. We got a lot done, but we had a really good time. But yeah, so Liz I see, and we always talk about the night where she was on this diet. Like Liz Denny, was on the
Yeah.
onion garlic diet.
Yeah. Oh, she talked about that.
She talked about that.
Tell us again,
And
though, please.
well, no. I mean, as I remember it, it was just the breath she was drinking this thing that was supposed to thermogenically lose weight or something crazy. And she kept coming up to me and I was like, what's happening? And then it became this bit where she would sing with me and breathe on me as much as she could. And we just were laughing the whole time. She makes me laugh.
And Kia,
Yeah.
talk to me about, so who do you see?
Well, after the LA thing, by the way, Tony and Tina's Wedding is the reason why I'm in LA. I never considered being in LA. LA wasn't even on my radar. And then I came out here and kind of stayed and did a band. Actually, Tony Dowdy and I were very close for a long time, and we've kept in contact here and there. I haven't seen him in a while, but I ran into Nancy in Gelson's of all places. It was like, oh my God, Nancy. And my whole identity kind of became about the Palisades. And that's why I work on so many movies and films coaching people, is because I'm out in LA. So Tony and Tina's Wedding changed my life coming out here, because I would never come here otherwise. But yeah, we should all have a reunion.
Every once in a while, I'll reach out to Tony Dowdy when I come to LA. I haven't done that for a couple of years now, but
Yeah.
it's fun to see him and learn about his life as like mega real estate billionaire.
How
Anyway,
much-
sorry,
How
Kia.
much do we love Tony Dowdy?
Oh my God, the best.
I mean, he was the second Donny Dolce.
He was his Donny Dolce. That was
Awesome.
the thing that was so great. We would sing together with my a cappella alumni group in New York. I brought him in because he's such a great singer. And we would do this, just recently resurfaced. It's on YouTube. There's a show called Eureka's Castle. It was a kid's show with like Muppety puppets, but not Muppets. And then they would have this music box that the puppets would play, and it would open up, and then there would be us, this quartet,
Oh my
singing
God.
songs like Inchworm or Shamalama Ding Dong or whatever. And it's so weird and arbitrary.
I was
It's
going to
hilarious.
say, that's
Oh,
triggering a very dark
You're probably
corner
the right
memory in my
age, yeah.
mind.
But so Tony was like part of what we called our SWAT team of vocalists. So when something came up, like a commercial thing or whatever,
So
Tony always
great.
got the call. And then, of course, he moved to LA and then that all
Yeah.
changed. But
And we
Yeah.
lived in
anyway,
that hotel when we moved to LA. I think I lived with
The Highland Gardens.
Nancy and Chris
Highland
for a
Gardens.
minute. And they had their cat with them, which was so interesting.
Right?
And yeah,
Leisha.
and I was like, this is LA. This is so not what I pictured.
Yeah, that was a special weird place.
I
It's a
remember
special,
visiting
weird
you
place.
guys there. Yeah, when I came out,
Yeah.
I'd never knew about the Highland Gardens, even though I grew up in LA, but I grew up in the Valley and like Tarzana. So I learned about my own city coming in to see you guys because I was like, what's this place? This is crazy.
It was like this little tropical paradise, even though it had a little bit of a dump too, but
It
it
was
was
totally a dump.
But when you're coming from New York and you're coming from like a small apartment and then you have a pool and a palm
Yeah.
tree and
Yeah.
Right.
and
it's
a
pretty
lizard.
exciting.
Yeah.
And a
It-
lizard.
And a
Yeah, it always
lizard.
had that courtyard that you'd walk
Yes, I
through.
mean, it again helped unify that group out there because we were all living together. There were very few people that went out there.
Oh, yeah.
Larry, I never asked you this. When you were first starting Tony and Tina's wedding, did you think this is going to be something?
No. No, and there was a whole life of Tony and Tina's wedding before me. Nancy did it down. There's two different locations that she did it. So
I
first
didn't
one I
know
wasn't
that.
involved in, that was down in Soho, but the second one I did the catering for. I never did theater for it to ever exist beyond the day that it existed because I knew how impossible it was to get a show to run. And I don't think that any of us really thought about the show being a hit even. I mean, we were
No.
working.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the reasons why there isn't a book. We were just people who created it, who were working and trying to make it better every single day. And it was really a great life experience for me. It very much shaped my life and who I am.
Well, I have to tell you, you were brilliant. You were absolutely brilliant. You were always super focused every minute of that, like, nope, that doesn't work. Oh, can we have a discussion about this part? Or can you were
Yeah.
just on it. I mean,
Yeah, it was fun.
yeah,
It was fun. It didn't seem like work. It really seemed like creating and working in something that you really
shaping.
enjoyed. And there were very few people in that company, and I don't even know if there was anybody who didn't want to
Yeah.
change it and make it better. It was just this
Right.
thriving osmosis of people who wanted to take this idea and make it as good as possible. And that was just lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that age where none of us were, even when it was in the commercial run, I still had a day job. I mean, it was great to be paid, but it wasn't like you could buy your second home and your boat or
Right.
anything.
Right.
But at that time, it was as good as any other off-Broadway job. That's just how the theater still is for the
Right.
most part. So nobody's doing it to get rich, really. At that age, you're just, working, you're excited, you're learning, and
It was better than watching TV at night.
Yeah.
Right.
well, also this is pre-internet,
Yes.
cell phone,
Yeah.
all this stuff. So the idea of going someplace and the connection you have with people was even more acute. It's just was
Yeah.
a very important thing you did. You couldn't just exist in your apartment with the internet and do your podcasts or whatever. You
Yep.
had to go places to meet people and be with people, and people looked at each other on the street. I can't tell you how many times I've passed by people who I know and they're in their phones and I'm like, am I going to say hello to them? I think not. I will just let them pass me by. But you
Yes.
think about all the souls who haven't met, because back in the day, that's how you met people sometimes,
Right.
and I think that this piece, Tony and Tina's, really comes out of, like, you wouldn't make this piece now. It wouldn't make sense. It's such a collaborative piece between the audience and the cast. So that's what was so incredible about it, I think, and why people probably still enjoy going to see that, because you're in this collective experience. I think there's this sort of backlash and everybody craves that. I know I see that with my club singing standard stuff that I do. People are just hungry to be out of their apartment
Yeah.
with other people
Yeah.
hearing something done
Human
live
beings.
in front of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, that's my old crotchety old man like.
Not a- Well, listen, we're all getting older. It's lovely to see both of you, you know.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us to. But it's an incredible legacy you've created, Larry. This piece and keeping it
Yeah.
going for so long is an
Yeah.
amazing thing.
Yeah, and always been out there and happy to do it and just have the most amazing experiences from around the world. I also just wanted to say that, so Kia, whenever I went out to do the show, I'd always hired the music director first, which would be the Celeste.
The Celeste Romano.
Right, which would be the Celeste, because I'm not the best judge of a singer, you know, who just comes in and sings a song.
Yeah.
And I made mistakes and cast people because they were cute or I don't know, whatever, when you just get it wrong. And usually the Celeste would warn me against it, or the music director, but there's really nothing worse than a Donny that sings flat. Or it just can't sing, because you
Right.
just cannot get away from your mistake.
No.
I
Yeah,
mean, if it's
you
sister
gotta
or
nip that
something,
in
you're
the
like,
bud.
okay, get it
Oh
off the side. But
no.
Yeah.
ah,
Or a Donnie that
Yeah.
doesn't really want to push. You know,
Or-
Donnie
right.
just kind of lays back. Oh, I got to go back on. You know, that guy. No, you don't
Yeah.
want that guy. The guy's got to drive it. The band has to drive it.
Yeah.
And
And
have
it's,
you
Yeah.
actually hired those flat Donnies?
I did. I
You
did.
did. And then what
I-
did you do? Did you have to
we
get
had to
rid of
fire
them?
him. We had to
Oh.
fire him because
It just didn't work.
well, usually the understudy went in and the understudy was better than him, but for
Yeah.
whatever reason,
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to tell from a couple of songs
It's really hard.
if somebody is going to have the determination to get in there and to really carry 20 songs.
Yes.
Right.
You have to have the stamina
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and the focus.
And to want to play.
Yeah.
It was always better to hire actors than singers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It really was.
It's an interesting line, the casting of it. Now I look back on, if I was casting a Donnie, it would just be really tough, because you want to cast somebody who can, it's like being a rodeo clown. You've got to be able to ride the horse and do all this stuff, but you've also
Yeah.
got to understand where the comedy is, and it's
Yeah.
not about showing off. Sometimes it is, but then sometimes you have to sit back, all those things. And
Right.
I mean, when you think about that original group, it's pretty amazing how everybody was on the same page for the most part, as far as how to tell the story and episodic development and all that stuff.
And it was really a group that learned by doing,
Yeah.
And I'm a high believer in chemistry. So I feel like everyone had amazing chemistry together, that we all loved each other and
Pretty much. I
respected
mean,
each other.
yeah.
There were fights, there were
Yeah.
issues, and there was all of that, but that's always also good. Thank you both very much for being here.
Ah, Larry,
Celeste,
you're
Michael,
the best.
it's so great
You
to
are, and
see
thanks
you.
for
You're the
doing this, because
best.
it connected Kia and I together. We haven't really
Yeah.
talked.
Yeah.
And I was in
yeah.
LA during the holidays, but Kia was on the East Coast, so we missed each other, but we got to have a lovely conversation yesterday and catch up. So
Yeah,
that was
now when I
really
go to
a
New
great
York,
benefit.
I'm going to hang out with Michael.
Yeah, love you both. Thank
We
you
love
so
you.
Okay.
much.
In this episode's Pictures for the Album segment, Conchetta chats with her brother, Richie.
Richie Rella.
Hi, Conchetta.
Hi, Rich. Good morning. My real life brother, right
How's it
here on Tony and Tina's podcast. Thanks for coming, Rich. Thanks for being
Of course. Yeah, thanks for you guys asking me to be a part of this.
Of course. It wouldn't be Tony and Tina's, for me anyway, without my big brother involved. So
Ah.
why don't we start with who was the first character you played? Who cast you? Start there.
Well, you got me involved early on.
Yeah, it was me.
It was you. You encouraged me once you got cast in the show. I felt like pretty much right out of college or shortly thereafter in the New York show, you encouraged me to come and see it. And improv was always something that I was very, very afraid of. Frankly, I had a lot of fear around improvisation, not having sort of that grounding is the wrong word, but that structure of lines to memorize as an actor, especially early on in my journey as an actor, as a performer. That was really a place of fear for me. So I came to the show because you were in it and you said this is something that you'd be right for. And I watched it. I had fun. I had loads of fun watching it in New York. But I think I told you straight away, no, this is not for me. And certainly then Christy Benanti, now Christy Patty, would reach out to me. I felt like I was telling her no so many times. I felt so bad about it because I loved Christy. We weren't classmates at Fordham, but we were at Fordham at the same time. So she had known my work. She had seen my work on stage at Fordham. And she kept following up with me and saying, hey, we're having auditions. We'd love you to come out. And I just kept politely declining. And it was fear-based, really. I was very, very scared of what felt like no safety net. But Christie's sort of determination about encouraging me to try this, to give it a shot, meant a lot. And one day, I don't even know what made me say yes. It might have been that I had bills to pay. I'm not really sure. I don't really remember. Yeah, it's probably that. I was drinking heavily back then.
You got the courage up. That's what
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Thankfully, I've put that behind me and come to grips with my fears in a lot of ways. And I came out and I auditioned for her. And sure enough, she invited me to join the cast as a swing. And I got to play so many different parts. But the part that I really gravitated to was Donny Dolce. And I think that's a lot of the things that we're identifying is that it has more of the script, right? You have more of the lines. You had stuff that made me feel comfortable as a performer. Even though it's quite a lot to have memorized, I felt that I could offer my best version of me and my talents to the show playing that role. But certainly I played all of the groomsmen at one time or another, as well as I did a long run in New York playing Michael Just, which was one of my favorite roles, even more than Donny Dolce, believe it or not.
Fantastic part. You come in late, you leave early, you have the big bang in the middle.
That was great. You're standing outside this Church of Scientology, which is, hilarious in its own right. That's like the height of the Church of Scientology, like when Tom Cruise is involved in it, right? And it's a lot of notoriety going. So
that was when we were performing at the Edison Hotel, right?
Yeah, that's the Edison Hotel. But beyond that, too, I do think of that character and sort of his arc and his struggles. And there was a lot of resonance of things that I was going through at that time. And he's a complicated soul who's got some real struggles and he's trying to make amends with a great many things in his life. Yeah, he was, I think, my favorite character to play, more so than Donnie, who I was like, sort of like the default easy mode for Rich. Michael Just was like, you got to do some real work. You got to do some real acting and you got to do some real soul searching to be that person. Donny Dolce was like default mode for me, easy stuff. So yeah, that's sort of how I got started in New York. And then from there, Kevin Alexander, who's still a dear, dear friend, he auditioned me to play Donnie out on tour. And I did that for a few years. And I had such wonderful experiences. I mean, working with just people all across this country, actors all across this country who are so gifted and talented, blew me away. And I got to work with Scotty Bilecki and Denise Fennell, which was its own sort of gift, and Tony Patelis, and got to travel with them and learn from them, not just about the show, but about their journey as actors and how they see the text, and not just Tony and Tina's, but the business in general, and having those conversations, those meaningful conversations when you're out on the road and you're sort of this fearsome foursome going into a town to create and bring people along for a fast bond where you have to be like fast friends to make this thing feel real and believable. So yeah, that was great. And then from there, the Philly show was looking for a Donny Dolce, and that's where Danielle Paccioni reached out and auditioned me, and she gave me the opportunity to come out to Philly and sing with the live band out there, which was under Chris Mose, and again, just a dear, dear friend at this point. He was just wonderful, and then you and I got to sing together.
Yeah, then you
with
brought
with
me
a
onto
band.
the Philly show. You dragged me in there. Somebody quit a last minute or something like that. There was a
Yes.
fallout last minute.
Yeah,
And it
we
was
lost
like
the
2 days
Celeste.
later was the first show I did. And I got this binder like this. And I was like, ah. And you were like, it'll be
Eh,
fine. It's me and you singing.
it's fine.
But
It's
it was
fine.
the best. It was the best.
But at that point, right, that's a good call out, right? About how my mentality had changed
Yes.
by that point
Yeah.
in my process. But I had already directed, right? Kevin had given me an opportunity to bring on replacements. And that's really where I got to work with Joe Corcoran, who then later gave me the opportunity to produce and direct my own version of Tony and Tina's like one-offs. So that's sort of the arc right there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But being cast as Donny Dolce, I will say that is a role where you are, as you're performing, you're directing in the sense that that music is the backbone. It gives everybody their cues. It lets everybody know what's coming next. And that responsibility during the course of the show largely falls on Donny Dolce. And if you have a band, on the band as well, or the technician that's playing all the cues, right? Playing all the music. So in that sense, you started your directing journey before you even realized probably that you were doing that, you know? So it probably was
Yeah,
very naturally once you came out of that and the opportunity was there for you, it was probably very natural to step in as, yeah, I can be in charge of this. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, you know?
yeah,
What I experienced in Staten Island for sure. I mean, I think if I go to the way cobwebs of my mind, I can remember us getting ready at the Edison Hotel beforehand, being a little bit nervous and like, ooh, I don't know how this is going to shake out. But then if I jump ahead to the Staten Island show where you were the director and you were producing it and you did have that huge responsibility, the calmness, the way you led us was like you had done this a million, billion, trillion times. You had failed on every corner and knew how to get out of it. You knew all the troubleshooting. So you were our safety net in that sense.
well,
And those
thanks for
kids
that.
didn't
Thanks.
have that great.
That's gracious of you to offer. I still, obviously, still learning, still growing. What is that, 15 years ago now?
Bruh,
Maybe,
bruh, 21.
so is it
21
really?
ago, yes.
Wow, I look great. I look
I'm
fucking
gonna say
great.
we still have all our
I look great. But you still look at it and go like, hey, you're always learning. If you're open to a growth mindset, if you're open to continuing to learn and grow as a human, I think you look at anything that you do in retrospect, and when conversations like this come up, it sort of forces that. And certainly there was still some youth, some inexperience there, but I think some of the things that you're pointing to are good things for people to recognize about just the process of overcoming fear, the process of the discipline of doing something over and over and over again. It creates, I don't want to say an ease, but it does create confidence, especially if you feel like you're getting better at that thing,
right.
or the fear is sort of diminishing as you continue to go through that process and step through that fear.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really took away from Tony and Tina's and keep applying to my life today, which is, hey, I met a lot of great people. I have a lot of great admiration. I met a lot of great performers all over this country because I stepped through that fear, right? Not to mention what it did for my career in other ways. People I know still look at that credit as an important credit on my resume because of my ability to improv.
Yeah, I think anybody in the industry that looks at a resume and knows Tony and Tina's Wedding and sees that you have a bunch of years on there, or even just a little bit of time, I think there's a huge respect and recognition for what it takes to do that for sure. But
Yeah.
speaking of nowadays, what do you got going on nowadays, Rich?
Yeah, so I'm very, very blessed. I just finished shooting season 2 of The Office playbook. It's a great ensemble comedy. It is scripted, but there's plenty of improv throughout. It's going to be great. It should be coming out by the end of the summer. And then I believe it's going to release around Christmas 2026. I'm in Fight for 84, which is a Netflix feature film starring Jamie Foxx, directed by Andres Bays, which is a sports drama which follows the true story of the U.S. Olympic boxing team rebuilding after the 1980 tragedy to the Olympic team.
Don't forget what you
There's
have
a
in
lot of
September.
kindness. Oh, in September, we have our staged reading of your works.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, it's an exciting few months for me, for sure. Very fortunate, very blessed.
Rich, thanks so much for being here. And I
Yeah,
will
my
say,
pleasure.
over the years, sorry, folks, he's my favorite performer. Sorry. Not sorry,
Yeah.
really. But I had the best time working with my real brother. We laughed so much. And the drive up to Philly, the drive back from Philly, grabbing our food on the way out, things like that. I'll never
Oh,
forget.
yeah. Remember we used to do that? We used to get like plates of food. They'd make us. They were so kind down there. Because I didn't like to eat during the show. You got to
Me
sing all
neither. You
this.
couldn't. You'd be burping and like your
Oh
breath
my
and like it was
God,
just
I
a mess.
couldn't.
It was a
I couldn't
mess.
do it. I could never get comfortable with that aspect of the show, especially as Donnie.
Eating during the
Especially
show?
as Donnie.
Yeah.
Eating during the show? No, I don't. God bless everybody who was able to do that. That was not something that I could ever get comfortable with, especially as Donnie.
No.
But they were
Yeah,
always so
yeah.
kind, all those people. And everywhere on tour, they would do the same thing for me. They were so kind and they would leave plates for us after the show. Yeah.
That's cool.
I was grateful.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Richie Bella, have a great day. Thanks for being here, man. Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you.
Yay!
Bye-bye.
Tony and Tina's Wedding, Creating a Theater Tribe is a production of Virtual Arts. If you like this episode, please make sure to like, subscribe, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And join us over on Instagram to see photos and archival materials related to the episodes. Join us next episode for our chat with costume designer Juan de Armas and choreographer Hal Simons.
To be together.